monsieur. Monsieur does have a name.
Okay, Caleb. Caleb Wycliffe. I didn't realize you people could speak English.
We people speak several languages.
Hello, welcome to my channel, The Golden People, TPG. And this channel is about being biracial, half black, half white. And what does that mean in today's society in the 21st century? Are we being perceived the same as we had been decades ago? I think it's changed over the years. I think that we're more able to define ourselves as opposed to letting somebody tell us who we are. On this channel, the reason why I named it The Golden People is because I look at mixed people as being kind of the example of what society should be. I think society should be more of a mixture, and that's what it's becoming over the years. I see more and more people mixing as opposed to trying to be a specific race. And in my mind, and the way I define myself, biracial is a race. It's a separate race. It's not black, it's not white, it's its own race, being a hybrid of the two. So that's what I see myself as and how I define myself. The research that I've done about our people being the mixed race people, I started looking at the French Renaissance, the 18th century, and how mixed people were treated and perceived. And in their culture, they were educated, well educated. They even married into the aristocracy. They were free people of color, and they called them gens du peuple libre. And they were people that had land and they owned businesses. They were well educated. Some of them were doctors and lawyers, professors, and treated very well. And also here in America, the Creoles, as they call them in America, were treated very well comparatively to how they treated black people. In general, in America, was horrible, but the Creole people, specifically of Louisiana, were treated very well. They were very well educated. They owned houses and land. They usually were the concubine of wealthy French settlers. So they would have these Quadroon balls, and they would have these women who were Creole, that were mixed, go to these balls, and they would go there to meet the rich, wealthy Frenchmen, and they would start a relationship. They were seen as maybe like a, what do they call them? I don't want to say concubine because that's very archaic, but they were basically the lovers of these men. Some of these men were married, and some of them were not. Initially they were just a companion to this man. He could be married and then to a white woman, but the Creole woman was his companion, his side chick, if you will. And she was given a house, and she was given a stipend. She didn't necessarily have to work, but if she wanted to work, she did. A lot of them did work. And it was acceptable amongst the French society. It was acceptable. The wife knew that his husband had this other woman, but she was not necessarily on the same level. He would never marry her, but he would go and have his relationship with her, whatever that may have been, and it was one big happy family. She lived in another part of town, um, but everybody was aware of that. It was part of their society, a part of their culture. It wasn't anything that was hidden. They actually created a huge event every year to meet these new Creole women that they call Quadroons, who were part black and part white. They were very beautiful women. That was one of the reasons why they were chosen. They had to be exceptionally beautiful in order to be participate in the balls. So these women were known for their beauty. It kind of reminds me of how the modeling field is how they choose these women out of all the women, and they had to be exceptionally beautiful in order to be a model. That's how it was back in the, those times where they had the quadroon balls. And the interesting thing about that, because I've seen a lot of movies about it, how those women um, accepted it. It was like, okay, well, we're gonna get you an education because you're more valuable to the male, the Frenchman who's gonna come in. I don't know if it's not a marriage. It's not a traditional marriage, but when you're chosen, it's almost like they bought them. It's almost like another form of slavery in a way, but they basically bought them because they would pay the mother and the father, whomever the parents were. They were given money in order for that man to have them for their as a companion. So they benefited in that way as well, that their daughter's going off to be with this rich Frenchman, and now they get money, for that. And the daughter doesn't have to pay for anything because the man has a lot of money, he's very wealthy. So he buys her a house, which is really their house, and he would visit her periodically, even though he had his other house and his whole family. He could have a wife and kids, and that's his whole family. But they were aware that dad has a friend that he goes to see from time to time, and that was the construct. That was what the culture was. And I thought that was very interesting. How it was very open. There was nothing to be ashamed of. There was no shame in it, because even the Creole women were very proud that they were able to get a man who had a lot of money, and now they have a beautiful home, and they live in a beautiful part of town. They're wearing expensive clothes. They're going to school. They're educated. So it was really kind of a trade-off. And I saw that was how people viewed biracial people that were half black and half white. They looked at them as a different race because they weren't called black. They were called quadroons. They weren't called Negroes. They were called Creole. So even then, even during those racist times, those people, our people, were not considered black. They were considered our own race. And that's what I'm trying to convey now, because I think over the years people are finally realizing it, but people were trying to get people that were mixed to pick a category. Oh, you have to either say you're black or you're white. That's it. There's no in between. Because they were holding on to that one drop rule, which is racist, that was built out of racism in America, the one drop rule, which they abolished in the 1960s. It no longer exists. So therefore you can't apply an archaic ideology in today's society. It's not acceptable. So anybody that goes, oh no, you're black because you've got a black grandmother, that's not true. Especially when you don't look black. How do you call somebody black who doesn't even look black? Their features are Caucasian, if anything. So that's what I am trying to convey. And I want to give some examples of that and show you some celebrities that before anybody knew that they had a black parent or had any type of black DNA, they were considered to be Caucasian or Latina. So stay tuned. I'm going to put some examples up here for you in just a moment. Okay, this is Wentworth Miller, and he looks very Caucasian. And people thought he was white, but he's biracial, black and white. Meghan Markle, another person that they thought was Latina or Spaniard. She's half black, half white. Daniel Sunjata, a lot of people thought he was Latino, Greek, Arab, but he's half black, half white. So you guys, I just want to get your opinion about what you think about mixed race people, and are you mixed race? And have you been subjected to other people's maybe not understanding who you are and they put you in a category? So let me know below. Like and subscribe, and talk to you guys later. Ciao.